Hey everyone, Alexia here. I am coming live to you today from my lovely home office. And the reason why I'm popping up here and doing a Facebook Live is because I want to touch upon hormone testing. So lately, a lot of questions have been coming my way about hormone testing, what's the best way to do it, why spend the money, and I just wanted to, clear the air and tell you a little bit more about it because I actually just invested in hormone testing and did it myself. So not only could I learn a little bit more about my health, but really impact it and get it better, easier, essentially. So specifically, I had the Dutch test done. So looks like this. Well, this is the kit. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you'll know that I did a set of stories a couple weeks ago, just kind of taking you through the test and why you'd want to do it. So basically, what Dutch testing is, it's where you are collecting urine, and that urine is tested to see where your hormone levels are at. And so when I talk about hormones, I'm talking about estrogen and progesterone, testosterone. Even if you're a woman, you still have testosterone, cortisol, and DHEA. And this particular test, the Dutch test, also looks at melatonin and a couple of organic acids as well to really give you a whole picture of, what's going on inside your body. So as I mentioned, this is a urine test for hormones. You can also measure your hormones looking at saliva. You can also do a blood test. The reason why I did a Dutch test is because I'll be honest, I listened to a webinar and I was like, you know what? My naturopathic doctor told me to do a Dutch test, so let's do it because it gives you an idea of where your hormones are at more on a 24-hour basis and looking at free and total, which sometimes serum, which is your blood, won't do. So I guess we'll get started. I'll tell you a little bit about the test first, and then I'll take you through my results because I have nothing to hide. Okay, so Dutch test. Basically, what you're doing, this test can be done for both men and women. And so during various times during the day, you are measuring your urine to kind of capture those hormones. So I started the test bright and early one of the days at 7:30 in the morning. And then you're testing around 2 hours after you wake up. You're testing middle of the day, so around 5 o'clock, like an hour before dinner. And then you're testing late at night. And so this is really important because this will actually give you the cortisol pattern throughout the day. And what cortisol is our stress hormone. And so in order to see how we are responding to stress, we take a look at our cortisol and want to see the actual pattern instead of just, seeing it once and then not really knowing what to do with it. Because if you're looking at the entire pattern, you can see that if you're producing enough cortisol in the morning, maybe your cortisol at night is quite high, and if you were, to do that during the day, then you actually wouldn't really know that. So that's why I really like urine testing, and saliva testing will also take care of that and give you that pattern as well. All right, so when you use the washroom at those designated times, basically you are soaking this piece of flimsy paper with urine. So to be a bit TMI, you can soak it midstream. I just got a disposable plastic cup and collected urine, dipped this in, and let it dry for a couple of hours. For me, that was a lot easier. Really up to you, whatever floats your boat. All right, so you're gonna let this sit for a couple hours, and once you collect all the samples, they send you 5. The extra one, just in case you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, they wanna see where your cortisol level is at that point too, because that'll just give more information of where what your cortisol pattern is at nighttime. So once those set to dry, you go send this in and get your results. But if you're a woman, what you're going to do, and you're still menstruating, so you're pre-menopause, you want to time this test close to day 19 till about day 22. And the reason is you want to capture the progesterone rising. So if you've actually taken a look at some of my videos or gone onto my blog, I talk a lot about the menstrual cycle in general and like which hormones are present during the menstrual cycle. So estrogen is pretty much present throughout the cycle. Progesterone, however, is only made after you ovulate. And so once you ovulate, the corpus luteum, which is basically the eggshell of the egg that's waiting to get fertilized, will go ahead and make the progesterone and make the estrogen. If you don't ovulate, then and no progesterone is made, well then you obviously are going to see that on the printout. So for men, it doesn't really matter when you take this test, but it does matter for women. So if you are pre-menopause, then certainly you want to be timing it between day 19 and day 22 to capture that progesterone peak to see, okay, like, do we need to support progesterone? Maybe we don't, whatever. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about that, I want to take you through some of my results. So they're not really crazy, but I thought it was interesting. So first of all, one of the results I honestly was most interested in was my cortisol pattern. And the reason why is because I was in school for, okay, I'm 30 now, so about 25 years I've been in school nonstop, didn't take a break, and I really wanted to see, okay, like, where's my cortisol at? Especially after finishing, my last year of naturopathic college and doing so much stuff, I knew that maybe my adrenal glands were kind of taking a beating, and so I wanted to see where they were at. So, okay, I hope you can see this. So basically, you have the daily free cortisone pattern and then the daily free cortisol pattern. Ideally, so you can see with mine that it kind of sits in the middle, which is really great. And then if it didn't, if this was somebody else's and it, this part, let's see if I can get my fingers here. Okay, so this part was elevated or 2 below, or even at the end, if it was elevated, then you would go ahead and create a treatment plan based on that. So the reason why I think testing cortisol is incredibly important is because we are all stressed. And sometimes we want to see that, we want to see if the stress is affecting our body. And so luckily for me, I pretty much took adrenal support all the way throughout naturopathic college and a year after I graduated. And so I can see here that, I'm okay. I don't really need to supplement with that anymore. If you look at my levels, first of all, these two, this is so hard to do from this end. These two are pretty in line. They essentially match. So I don't really need to supplement anymore. And they kind of fit right in the middle. If I was getting an excess amount of cortisol, which is this one at night, if it was elevated, that means that I probably would be getting a second wind at night and I'd just be up and kind of doing everything. And we don't really want that to happen. We want that cortisol level or those cortisol pattern to follow this, okay? And then, for instance, at this point, this is the point in which someone wakes up. So you want it to be high because that cortisol is essentially getting you out of bed in the morning. If you're the type of person where you get out of bed in your morning and literally you can fall back asleep and it's really hard for you to get through the day, then this would be another reason to test it to see where you're at. Because you have to remember, our body can adapt to stress, but if we experience too much stress, then it definitely is going to affect our body and, affect our hormones later on. For instance, cortisol can go ahead and affect the amount of progesterone that your body is making, which, can be detrimental. The amount of progesterone can, in fact, affect the amount of estrogen. So you can see that you really want to make sure that everything is going, as it should. And if it's not, that's okay. There's definitely things that we can do. But for me personally, I know after looking at my pattern, which now you've seen 15 times, it's okay. I don't really need to support myself when it comes to cortisol. Certainly making sure that I'm not drinking coffee at 9 o'clock at night or getting to sleep at a good time and not 3 a.m. those are obviously going to be important too, but when it comes to herbs and supplements and that type of thing, I'm okay. Probably focus on a couple of other things. Okay, so I'm going to show you a really scary picture right now. And this picture is scary because it is testing or looking at your androgens, which are your male hormones, which women have, like testosterone. You're taking a look at progesterone. And lastly, you're taking a look at estrogen. And so all of these really, not only do they correspond to one another, but they interrelate to one another. So when one is low, the other might be high. So you really want to pay attention to it. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to show you what it looks like. So that looks unbelievable. And it's like you need a roadmap to really find your way around. Okay, so the top here, no, this one is progesterone. Right here, your androgens. And right over here, sorry, this is, I'm never going to be on TV. This is your estrogen. Okay, so I want to kind of take you through it. So what this company does, this is Precision Analytical. They kind of give you these dials, which tells you, where your levels are at. Are they, in range? Are they low? Are they high? And it kind of gives you a good idea of what the balance is. And that's really why I like this test. So if you take a look at mine, and I want to show you, I want to show you progesterone. If you can kind of see, you'll see that I'm quite low in progesterone. So that might be due to stress, that might be due to other genetic variations. So just taking a look at that, I know that while I'm ovulating, I do need to support the amount of progesterone in my body. So I can do that, and the way I'm going to do that is by taking a herb called chaste tree, which can actually help balance progesterone and estrogen, and then just help communication between the ovaries and the adrenals and some other body parts as well. All right, so we know that I'm going to have to support my progesterone. Also, okay, so this part, the bottom part that's kind of shaded, oh, do I have it? Yeah, over here is estrogen. So my estradiol, so there are 3 estrogens. You have estrone, estradiol, and estriol. Estradiol, that is the second estrogen, and that's going to be the most predominant estrogen that we have in our body and pre-menopause. And that's the one that is really important, giving us our secondary sex characteristics, heavily involved during our period. And so if I look at mine is actually quite high. And the reason why it might be quite high is because my progesterone is low. So when we take a look at hormones, we want the estrogen and progesterone really to be balancing one another, especially in the second half of the cycle, which is the luteal phase. Now, if someone has lower progesterone and lower progesterone, this actually may lead to higher estrogen, causing estrogen dominance. And so that might lead to, various estrogen dominant symptoms like pain, breast tenderness, like weight gain, things of that nature. And so for me, if I have low progesterone and higher estradiol, it kind of makes sense. Like it follows that pattern. And so I'll just need to, in order to deal with that, I'm hoping, if I balance my estrogen, maybe in a couple months, rerun the test and see, okay, did that actually make a difference? Now, if you take a look at like this part right here, this is how estrogen is metabolized within the body. So estrogen is metabolized through the liver. The liver is the body's biggest and most important detox organ. And so we want estrogen kind of going through the 2 phases of detox and then getting out of the body, like as with the stool, essentially. So there are a couple ways that estrogen can detox. Just like there are 3 types of estrogen, there are 3 ways that estrogen can detox. I'm not going to get into them, but it's basically the 2 pathway, the 4 pathway, and the 16 pathway. we really want things going through or detoxing through the 2 pathway, because that's considered the healthy pathway, as opposed to the 4 and 16. So obviously things will go and detox during this pathway. We just don't want either of those to be higher than the 2. So for me, for instance, my 16 is a little bit higher than, you know, it should be, or it's in range, but it's high end of normal. So basically what that means is that I really need to start switching things to get to that 2 pathway. And I have another paper, which I'm going to get. Okay, so if you kind of take a look at this paper, which they also give you, it'll go through the entire pathways, and then you'll learn, okay, like what can I do to kind of get it back to the 2? And so you might, you know, be taking magnesium or eating soy and, you know, things like that. So what I'm going to do to help switch it back to the 2 is just have a soy and blueberry smoothie every morning to help promote that pathway, to preferentially get the estrogen going through that pathway. Yeah, because if it's going through the 4 and it's going through the 16, then that actually has a tendency to cause, you know, DNA damage, cell damage, and then down the line may predispose to cancer. And I'm not saying that, you know, my future has been written, but at least using this information, I can start making like healthier decisions to help promote a healthier estrogen detox. Okay, so that's basically it for dried hormones or dried urine. So another way that you can test your hormones is through saliva testing, which is basically you're spitting in a tube at those times, pretty much the same times throughout the day, just so you can get that cortisol pattern. And basically, the results are very similar. The reason why I really like Dutch testing is you can see those metabolites. So you can see, okay, this is how estrogen is breaking down in the body. This is how cortisol is breaking down in the body, etc. And then lastly, as I mentioned, serum. I think serum, so if you have a lower progesterone and you want to see, okay, well, am I ovulating during my cycle, then you can go and do a blood test for 3 days in a row to see if, you know, you are ovulating and what the progesterone level is at. For estrogen, I would say definitely do dried urine. For cortisol, it's pretty much the same thing, dried urine, saliva. I think by looking, you know, taking a look at the dried urine, although the test can be expensive, it's going to give you the most amount of data, I feel. And then you can make better informed choices going forward of like, okay, well, instead of having, you know, the bulletproof coffee every morning, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, have a smoothie every morning with blueberries to help support and promote estrogen detoxification. All right, so if you guys have any questions about hormone testing and why else you would want to, you know, get it done, it would be great for endometriosis just to see how estrogen is metabolizing throughout the body. You'd likely want to do this for PCOS to take a look at the testosterone picture with the male hormones, or looking at the cortisol and seeing, okay, what's that type of pattern? So there's a wide range of reasons why you could take it, but I wanted to take you through mine so you can get a better understanding of the information that you're getting. Because at the end of the day, we all want to know about ourselves and see what's going on to help determine, okay, like what we're doing in our day-to-day lives, is that promoting our health, or is that like hindering our health, or making it just, you know, remain static? So I know the tests can be quite expensive, but I think for me, you know, I like paid out of pocket, and I definitely think it is valuable. And so I'm going to go ahead and just implement some changes now. So for instance, having the blueberry smoothie, blueberry and soy smoothie in the morning to help promote the pathway, taking vitamin C, taking chaste tree to help boost my progesterone, and then my ND suggested doing a Whole30 diet for a month just to kind of give my body a nice reset, especially since the summertime is coming and it's going to be really nice soon, although it was snowing on the way home today. All right, guys, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I would love to hear them and definitely answer them for you. Send me a PM if you kind of want to keep it between the two of us, but I hope you found this helpful. And thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. Bye.